Last week, I dug into some of the issues around the He Gets Us advertising campaign. One of those issues is the amount of money being spent. It was initially reported that this was going to be a $100 million campaign, and now there are new reports that it might be a $1 billion global ad campaign. So today I'm going to focus on just this one issue, spending that amount of money. So let's get started.
This is the Significant Man Recharge Show. I'm your host, Warren Peterson, and welcome to the 5 Minute Friday.
Now first, this episode, it's going to be a bit longer than normal, just like last week's was. I try to keep 5 Minute Fridays around 5 minutes, but this one's going to be a bit longer. Now, the people behind the He Gets Us campaign, they're spending a lot of money. It was reported that they spent $20 million just on their ads during the Super Bowl, and some people are very upset about the money being spent. Representative Ocasio-Cortez said, "Something tells me Jesus would not spend millions of dollars on Super Bowl ads to make fascism look benign." Now, as much as I want to go off on a side rant about making fascism look benign as a response to this, I'm going to focus on the money aspect and spending money like this. In and of itself, I think that if people want to choose to spend their own money creating ads and sharing the name of Jesus, then so be it. In a free country where we still have freedom of speech, that's their right. And I know that many are challenged with the amount of money that's being spent. But I think that's a slippery slope argument, and one I usually don't take part in. For example, would those same people be upset if it was $1 million being spent instead of $20 million? How about if it was $100,000? What if 1,000 people each donated $1,000? What I found is there's no number that people can end up settling on that they would be okay with. Because even if it was low, we'll say $100, there's an underlying question behind that question. People would still say that $100 could have been used better. People will say, why not spend that money on other things? Why not buy a coat for a homeless person? Why not build a house for a needy widow? Why not open a shelter for women or fund a food pantry? We can come up with all sorts of ways that other people should be spending their money. What many might not know, especially people who connect these ads in any way to making fascism look benign, is that Jesus spoke to this issue in a way. This is a bit longer of a passage, but I'd like you to consider these verses in the relation of what I'm sharing here today. This is from Matthew 26, 6 through 13, which reads, "While Jesus was in Bethany, in the home of Simon the leper, a woman came to him with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume, which she poured on his head as he was reclining at the table. When the disciples saw this, they were indignant. 'Why this waste?' they asked. 'This perfume could have been sold at a high price and the money given to the poor.' Aware of this, Jesus said to them, 'Why are you bothering this woman? She has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will always have with you, but you will not always have me. When she poured this perfume on my body, she did it to prepare me for burial. Truly, I tell you, wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her.'" And it is. We're talking about this thousands of years later. Now, to be clear, I don't think these verses should be used by Christians to justify themselves spending money on themselves. These verses are not for me to use as my own reason why I can go out and buy anything I want, spend whatever I want, on whatever I want. This passage doesn't change the fact that what I have in my life, it's from God, and it's my personal responsibility to steward it appropriately. Rather, I want to connect this to the idea of an organization spending money on spreading the name of Jesus. Last week, I shared some of my thoughts about the content of the messages, so I'm not addressing that today. This is all about the money being spent. Sharing the name of Jesus, it's important. Honoring Jesus is important. And what Jesus said here was an echo of the Old Testament in Deuteronomy 15:11, where we read, "There will always be poor people in the land. Therefore, I command you to be open-handed towards your fellow Israelites who are poor and needy in your land." The point was that generosity is a choice for each individual person. And as Christians, we're to help and give to the poor. We're to honor Jesus. They're not mutually exclusive. And Jesus knows that all too often, we can appear concerned about how others spend their resources in order to cover up our own challenges with spending ours. We're called to be stewards of what we've been given. And if that means a group of people spending $1 billion to share the name of Jesus, or it means a poor woman giving her last 2 copper coins, only God is the one to judge that. So the question for you and the question for me is not how much money someone else spent on spreading the name of Jesus, but how much that you and I have used of our own resources in a way that honors Him. That may be a tougher question to answer, but in my opinion, that's where we should be looking on issues like this. It's not what did they spend, it's what are you doing and what am I doing to share the name of Jesus. And last week, as I mentioned earlier, I did spend some time on the content of the He Gets Us campaigns. So if you're curious about that, you can check out last week's episode. And head over to significantman.com and sign up for the Intel email series. Every week, I write a short, quick email for you to read. It's free, it's fast, something for inspiration, something for devotion, something for you to think about as you go through the week. So head over to significantman.com and get Intel today. And please be sure to subscribe to this show and rate it and review. Your ratings and your reviews, they help other people find the show. So thank you for that. All right, enjoy the next show.